I want to begin by saying thank you to the host community, the chief, the acting mayor. Are your other kids named after provinces too?
Yukon means great river, so it's a water course. Yes. Yes.
The people of Fort Nelson. Anyways, I was just getting back to, I didn't have a good rest. I had a little story about this little old lady that also experienced what I'm experiencing. It's traveled a long ways and checked into a hotel, and the next day he never had a good rest, so he's going to check out, and the clerk says, "Well, ma'am, did you have a good rest?" No, he said, I never had a good rest. The next door, people next door kept eating chocolate all night, they said. So the clerk looked at some puzzle and he said, "I don't understand." And well, one of them kept saying, "Oh, Henry, oh, Henry." The other one kept saying, "Sweet Marie, sweet Marie." During this conference, I'm hoping that we can come up with an accord or a declaration. This would have been my 8th keepers. But we've also talked before that about water. And it started off by, when I was the MLA, that we work with the nation and Environment Canada to look at the science of global warming and climate change. And it was just from that we used to do workshops in smaller communities and explain to them what was happening, the depletion of the ozone layer. So it was based on that eventually, like, one of the first meetings that we had was on water was in Yellowknife. It all came out of the whole giant mine arsenic issue, and the design of that young lady there head sticking out of the water came from a gentleman by the name of Chris Patchy. Chris works in Ottawa now, and I think he works for the Senator Shibiston, I believe. Anyways, that's his design, and we've been using it for the first keepers that we had in Fort Simpson. And it all started just being more concerned about protecting the water. But as we went on to Fort Chippewa, Fort St. John, Manitoba, Wollaston Lake, Hatchet Lake, we find out that the impact on water is really quite tremendous. So it wasn't just limiting it to the protection of water, but really to go beyond that to protecting this planet. At one time, this was our continent. We had over 40 billion buffaloes. The Grand Banks was steaming with fish that you can practically walk on the fish or on water anyways. But that's all gone. And I don't think it'll ever recover. But we also know that 6 million will be 8 billion. 6 billion would be 8 billion pretty soon. And there isn't enough to go around. And by lowering the protection of fish habitat, this government has literally done something that is quite stupid, because that means that our fish are not protected either, our food source. We also have a faster way. See, in 2000, when a group of people decided maybe it's time to build a pipeline, I used to work with the elders and the leaders in that, and for 5 years, we went through a process of public hearings. But eventually, this whole thing died. It wasn't the result of our persistence that did that. It's just that the price was too low for it to be economically viable. But we also know that today we are in a recession. And Spain might go under, and China might go under too. So we might have a global recession now. And recession is not bad. At least it stops everything. It slows down the economy. And it gives us the opportunity to reflect and to see what we have been doing to our planet. When I was still the MLA, I went to a conference in Quebec. And I think the conference was called Conference of the Americas. And one of the keynote speakers, who was from Spain, by the way, said that the economy is the driving force behind democracy. And it's absolutely true that he says that. Because what we're doing is we're lowering our environmental standard in order to continue to have industrial expansion and development. And the former mayor said something about money. Bernard Graham Shaw said one time, to want a whole lot of money, one must be stupid enough to want it. Next summer, 2013, there is a big conference in Spain, and I passed these little booklets around on the Wild Foundation. I was just in Montana. I did a workshop on land use, and the conference is going to be held over there. October the 4th to the 10th, 2013, in Salamanca, Spain. Okay. I'm hoping that the result of this meeting here, we will have a good accord. We would also have a good create an organization that actually has bylaws, mission statement, terms of reference, executive summary, and goals and objective. But also an organization that actually can raise money. Having these gatherings is costing a lot of money. Several times we've seen First Nations go into deficits. And so there just is a need for a parent organization to look at these type of events and support First Nations when it happens. But this conference also would come up with an accord or a statement or a declaration that we can use maybe to go to Spain. Get some people to go to Spain and do a presentation over there too, to the Well Foundation. And also I wanted to ask some people to volunteer to work with us, maybe even this evening, to start drafting a document that we can actually pass around and see if we're on the right track. But also this would be a collective thing. We come up with a first draft, and then by the time Friday evening comes around, we will actually have a pretty good document that we might be able to take home and give it to our MLAs, to our mayors, to our council, and so on. I think the moderator just gave me the finger, so I have to. So, anyways, the idea here is that where do we go from here? Now, what's the next step? We've done it for 8 years. We've collected a lot of information. The impact on the water, the wildlife that depends on it is tremendous. And what we must try to come up with is something that says that it's got to stop somewhere. Somewhere we have to think about our environment, the water, the earth, the wildlife, ourselves. And we have to start thinking about saving ourselves. And how do we best put that on paper? The non-Aboriginal have their own version, the Aboriginal people have their own version. And just in closing, I want to say that a lot of people tell me about the difference between sacred and spiritual when you talk about land. And this whole continent, at one time, when we buried our dead, we didn't bury them. We put them on scaffolds. And their bones are scattered all over this continent. Babies that are died prematurely are put in trees. And their bones are scattered all over this continent too. It's a practice that Aboriginal people did for thousands of years, but that's why when we define land as sacred, it's because of that. And the spot that you are on, therefore, is spiritual. That's it.